Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is the channel where we talk about all the houseplant things, and today we have a very special guest, Maria from the Growing Joy podcast, and we are going to be talking today about the nicest thing a plant friend has ever done for us. So, hello Maria, welcome.
Hello, my plant friend. I love that we're having this episode on plant friendship when you're like one of my oldest and dearest plant friends. You're truly a plant friend that's turned into a real friend, which I absolutely love.
You pointed that out when you talked about this on stories, and I was like, oh, actually that's so true. We've been friends for so long.
Yeah. We've been Instagram friends for so long, and then we met in person in 2019 when we did the event together in Tucson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was when we first met each other. We put together that live recording, and then I kind of snuck out to California to watch another live recording.
At Folia Collective, right.
Yep. And yeah, we've just sort of kept in contact since then, which has been so fun.
I know. I love when a plant friend that you interact with on DMs on Instagram turns into like a plant friend whose phone number you have. And we've gone through phases where we were on Marco Polo and we would be sending each other videos, and now we're in our voice memo era. But it's really sweet, I think, when plant friendships, obviously you connect about plants, but I think it's really sweet when those friendships grow into a friendship where you can talk about other things like motherhood, like relationships, like, you and I have had so many conversations that aren't plant related at this point. When in the beginning they were all plant related, but I think that's such a special thing about plant friendships. They're a great way to make adult friends. It's hard to make adult friends, but it's easy to make plant friends.
Absolutely. And I think it's like when the plant conversation ends and you can talk about other things, that's when you've made a friend. Like,
totally. Yeah, and I feel like you're such a plant friend, like with your potted together group of friends as well. Like, I love seeing on your Instagrams when you guys always go and like meet up with each other and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. It's so sweet.
Oh, it's so fun to spend time with plant people. And and here's something that's nice too, is like when you travel with a plant person, you don't have to worry about them being like, oh, another plant store. Like,
yes.
Because you both want to go into the plant nurseries and like see what's going on.
They get it. They totally. Yeah. Like I was just on this bachelorette this last weekend in Jamaica, and they're not plant people. They're like amazing women, but they're not my plant friends. They're my IRL friends. And it was funny because I feel like I kept having to sneak away because Jamaica is the land of our houseplants IRL. Like there were philodendron everywhere I could look. There were philodendron and monsteras climbing up trees, and I had to go sneak away from the group to go shoot content because I was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I need to go get this content. I need to go like marvel at this philodendron climbing up this 100-foot tree, but I don't want to bother the group, so I'm just going to go sneak away and do this myself. But yeah, if I was traveling with a plant friend, they'd be like, grab your tripod, I'll shoot for you, you shoot for me, like it's gonna work great.
We're gonna do this together, we're both gonna be obsessed.
Yeah
and it's also, I'm sure your friends were like, oh, Maria and her plants, like that's so cute.
Oh, and they'd be like, Maria, what's that plant? Maria, what's that? It was very sweet that they that they tried to include me in that way. And I think in general, plant people, and I know you and I both say this all the time, but like plant people are such kind people. If you choose to spend your extra time, energy, and income on a hobby that's plants, like plants can't bark at you, plants can't interact with you in the way that we want them to. Like they can explain what they need as well as pets or other things might be able to. I feel like in general, that means you're a pretty nice person. So I feel like when you meet another plant people, there's a higher chance that you'll actually get along because it's probably just two nice people who are kind of nerdy. Like wanting to connect,
You care for things. You have like a caring heart and soul. So like you probably would. Yeah, it's the empathy. I think it's the empathy.
Totally.
That makes the difference. So that's kind of a great segue into what this episode is about. We're going to talk about empathy in the plant community and plant friends who have shown up for us or gifted us something special, and just kind of how that has impacted us. And we're going to share some stories from you guys. So thank you to everybody who submitted your stories. I'm super excited to read these. I haven't read any of them, so this is a surprise.
Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah. Do you have a story of a time a plant friend like really showed up for you? Or yeah, I guess that would be the question, like anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, one of my thoughts is, you because I had wanted, when I was on tour with Cats, I had wanted to do a meetup in Tucson, and you basically were like, yeah, I can figure out where we could go and what we could do and who might be in, like, you basically helped co-hosted this event with me, which was incredible. One recently that has been in the forefront of my mind. So when I was just getting into plants, I made friends with this girl. I was at a Plant 101 workshop at the Sill, and there was this other girl there. Her name was Agatha. She used to be called Plant Ma on Instagram. Now she's Agatha Isabel. And we hit it off with a couple of other girls that were at this like Plant 101 workshop at the Sill. And we ended up creating this group of friends. It was like a group chat in Instagram. And we called ourselves the NYC Plant Mamas. And we got together like once a quarter, and we would rotate going through we were all like full strangers that just had this like passion for plants, like full strangers, or at least I was a stranger to everyone. A few of them were friends already, and we would rotate going to each other's apartments and doing plant swaps. And we'd also like, one day we did like a brunch in Brooklyn, and we did a tour of all the Brooklyn plant shops, and we just had this group DM thread, and we would just come up with ideas and pitch each other, or we'd use the thread to like, you know, ask each other plant questions, or, oh God, I have my first thrips outbreak. Like, what should I do? And that was in 2017, right when I launched my podcast, Growing Joy with Plants. And we've stayed in touch. Like, a lot of us lost touch in the pandemic because a lot of us moved, but New York Botanical Garden has been amazing with all of us. The New York Botanical Garden is like our home away from home. And they threw my book launch a couple of years ago in 2021 for when my book Growing Joy came out. And Agatha showed up. And it was kind of in the middle of a corona surge, but she showed up to that book launch. She stayed the whole time. She took content for me. She took pictures. And we had this beautiful first full circle moment last weekend where she had her book launch at the New York Botanical Garden. And I live 2 hours away now. I don't live in the city anymore, but I was like, you bet I'm dragging my butt to New York Botanical Garden. I'm driving 2 hours. I'm figuring it out so I can get there to support her. And we had like a photo. I can give you the photos if you want to put them up as B-roll, but like we had taken a photo of me and her with my book, and then we recreated the photo with her book. And it was so sweet. And the New York Times ended up being at this event because it was the Orchid Night, and they ended up writing about our friendship in the New York Times, about our plant friendship, which is so crazy. But I feel like, I don't know. I mean, Agatha, you know, we're very different people. We don't run in our same circle of friends. Like, we have this very specific friendship. And I just think that whole story kind of speaks to showing up for each other over the years. You know, we've known each other since 2017. And I just know that if I ever needed a plant, you know, if my plant was going downhill, I know I could text Agatha even if I hadn't talked to her in like 3 years for plant advice. And I just thought that was like a very sweet full circle moment last weekend. So that's what comes to mind. What about you?
Okay, well, hold on. We got to unpack this.
Yeah.
So that's so sweet that the New York Times covered your friendship. We need a link to that.
Yeah, I'll give you a link.
If you have it.
Yeah, I'll give you a link for sure.
The theme that I'm hearing from this specific one is friendships that like last through the ages, where you don't have to see each other every single day or talk to each other every single day in order to still have that friendship. And that's one of the things of like being an adult and being a mom and like a new parent is like, I don't talk to my friends every day or even every week, but and I need to know that my friends are still going to like remember me and care about me because I still remember and care about them.
Yep.
It's just life.
Different seasons of life, for sure.
It's special to have friends that can like transfer from one season to the next and like continue. So that's really sweet.
I think also something I'm learning as an adult is you can have friends for different seasons. You can have friends for different aspects of life. Like Agatha's my plant friend, and yeah, we connect about a lot of things outside of plants, but like predominantly, you know, we talk about business, we talk about our plantrepreneur businesses, we talk about plants. But I don't need to also make her my everything friend. Yeah. And I think it's cool to have different groups of friends for like different moments in life or kind of different categories. I don't know. I've also gotten really comfortable with that, where I feel like when I was younger, I felt like everybody needed to be everything. And I just don't feel like that's the case when you're adult. Because like you said, we all have so much stuff going on.
Yeah. Expecting one person to be all those things is hard. Yeah. So mine, I mean, we saw a video on my channel a couple weeks ago of this one that I want to talk about, but it's actually the second time that Adam and Nicole have come into my collection and just like overhauled things. And the first time it happened was I think it was their first time at my apartment, and they, they found spider mites. So that was really stressful. And that was like a horrifying moment. You know, when the first time you ever find your first like huge pest outbreak is
especially
horrible.
Spider mites. Yeah.
But yeah, so they came to my house and they like helped me with the first treatment of all those spider mites. And that was incredibly helpful because it was my first time ever experiencing them. So I had no idea what to do. And I just felt very out of depth with how to take care of it. Mm-hmm. And then more recently, they came and just like watered all of my plants, threw away a bunch of plants that needed to be tossed that I just wasn't ready to part with, and just did it for me. Like I could have very easily just sat on my couch with Nora and just watched them. Of course, I wanted to help, but like they would have been totally fine with that. And I just think that's really special to have friends who can like come into your embarrassing.
Yes.
You know, like it was kind of embarrassing. Honestly,
totally.
Like the state of things.
That's so sweet though too that they just understood. They were like, you've gone through it, you're a new mom, we've got you. Because I think with new moms too, it's like people think to make you a lasagna, or people think to come over maybe do your laundry for you. But when you have, how many plants do you have? 200 plants? Like when you have an enormous plant collection, that's going to suffer in the first year of a new baby. Talk about seasons of life, right? Seasons of plant parenthood. And the fact that you have these specific friends who understand that specific pain point, who can come in and swoop in and save the day in that capacity for you, even though they're not doing your laundry. But frankly, watering your plants correctly and doing some plant care maintenance might be more important than doing your laundry at that point. Yeah,
heavy on the doing it correctly. Yeah, so that I don't feel like I have to like manage them. Yeah, they know how to do it. Because like anybody could water a plant, but like to water it correctly or the way that I like to do it is a whole other thing. Which they were very like, oh yeah, what do you use? Let's do it the way you do it, so that it was just not stressful. Everybody always wants to like come over and hold the baby, but it's like, I don't need you to hold the baby. I need you to water my plants. I need you to
deal with
do my
spider mites outbreak. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can hold the baby as a reward after you water all my plants. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Plant friends are just invaluable, and I'm so thankful to have all of the plant friendships that I have that have gone from when we were like, I don't know, unmarried, unwed women.
Yes.
to us
I mean,
now.
I feel like offline, you know, before we had this conversation in 2019 together when I was in Tucson, we were both unmarried. I think you were planning your wedding at that point. I don't think I was even engaged yet. You know, we were both baby plant influencers. We hadn't really monetized our businesses yet. Like we were just kind of figuring it out. And the conversation that we had today, which is like so deep, so immediate, you know, about major life transitions and expansions, that's a pretty impressive friendship, Becca. It's pretty cool how we've grown together. I think it's really sweet for sure.
It is. It is so sweet. Yeah, just to be comfortable with someone and just know that, I don't know, you've got my back, I've got yours. It's really, it's special. If we could like fast forward to sitting, like when we were sitting on my porch in 2019, fast forward to this, like
never.
Where we currently are living, what our lives are like. No, I could have never like.
We both 180'd our lives in the interim, like between those two glimpses of our conversations, both of our lives like completely changed. So wild.
We both went rural, which was like probably the biggest change. We could talk all about that, but we want to hear from you guys now. So I'm going to read the responses. We're just going to popcorn back and forth and kind of just chat about each one a little bit. Okay, this is from Summer. The nicest thing a plant friend has ever done for Summer is they surprised me with a cutting and or potted up props of a plant they knew that I didn't have when I was having a tough time.
Aww, I love that.
That's really sweet. Because
does it get better than that? I mean, I think that's like the greatest thing anyone could ever do for you.
I know, give you your wish list plant. And it's like, it's not even necessarily about the plant itself. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, they were intentionally remembering the plants that I want. Yes. And then like hearing that and like looking around in their collection and seeing, oh, how can I fulfill that like need or desire? I think that's really sweet, especially when they notice in a time of need, like when you're having a hard time.
Who needs a bouquet of flowers when you can have a rooted Hoya cutting? Truly,
seriously,
like, who needs it? I love that so much, and I don't know if you're a love language person, but I love the love languages, the five love languages. And my number one love languages is acts of service, like gestures. And I feel like this is the most gorgeous act of service you could do, knowing that your friend is feeling poorly and trying to just give them a little dose of joy and sweetness and, connection. I just think that's the greatest.
Yep. I totally agree.
This is from Esmeralda. I am obsessed with your name, Esmeralda. One of my favorite local plant shops, Hickory Lane Plants, gifted me a wish list plant when my sister passed and checked on me routinely to make sure I was coping well. It made me so happy to know that they cared enough to check on me. The wish list plant was a bonus compared to the messages I received from them. It's so similar, but also I think that speaks to plant shops too. Like the people who the owners of plant shops are some of the greatest people I've ever met, and that is such incredible customer service.
Yeah. I think that place is in, if I'm remembering correctly, that sounds like a place in Springfield, Missouri. So,
okay.
And I've chatted with them on Instagram a few times. So if that's the same place, very nice people. Yeah. Shout out to Hickory Lane Plants in Springfield, Missouri. Really, really wonderful people. But that's the sentiment. That's like the same sentiment as before, is like the plant was great, but it was just the thought
and gesture.
Yeah. Just the intentionality of being thought of is really sweet.
Yeah. I do feel like gifting a plant in honor of a loved one that has passed is kind of high stakes. With this one, with Esmeralda, this was the most thoughtful, perfect gift because it was a wish list plant. It was from the plant shop that, knows her and knows that she could take care of it. But I've also had a lot of people be gifted plants for a past one and then have so much stress around that plant because they don't want it to die. So I would definitely say if you're thinking about replicating this very kind gesture, make sure that you're getting a really hardy plant that is, especially if you're giving it to someone who isn't a plant person, because I feel like I've heard a lot of experiences like that. But this is so sweet and thoughtful, and just speaks to Hickory Lane Plants and how they, view their customers. It's so sweet.
That is really sweet. And that's a great point, because I feel like a lot of the funeral plants are like, what's that lily?
Peace lily. Yeah.
Peace lily. I see Dieffenbachia a lot, and Dieffenbachia is just, I don't think that's an easy plant. No. So let's do like some Dracaena. Let's do some pothos.
Give a heart-shaped philodendron, heart leaf philodendron.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is from Lauren, and it says, a plant friend gave me the biggest indoor bird of paradise I've ever seen. Easily could have cost me hundreds, if not $1,000 at the time. Wow. She's my pride and joy. See, that's very nice.
Plant friends are the best friends.
This
reminds me when I was just getting into plants. I don't think I've started my podcast yet. I had just gotten off of the Sound of Music tour, and one of my actor friends from that tour was really into plants. And as I was on that tour, I was starting to want to get into my nesting situation with the boyfriend that my husband that I had moved in with. And she had to move suddenly when I was back, and she reached out to me saying, hey, Maria, I have to move suddenly. It's totally unexpected. I have 20 houseplants that I'm not going to be able to take with me. Would you like them? And none of them were valuable $1,000 BOPs, but it was the most amazing thing ever, because my plant collection it literally doubled in size at that point. I killed some of them, but it was an opportunity to learn about different types of plants that I had never cared for. And also, she had gifted me this jade that was really old that I think she had gotten from someone. And I had then rooted, since I've owned that jade, which I still own, I've gifted cuttings of that jade to multiple friends, and they've gifted cuttings of that jade to multiple friends. And so it speaks to this network of mycelium, the network of plant friends. And I love that, maybe that BOP wasn't serving Lauren's friend, but made Lauren's day and is Lauren's pride and joy. That's also not to say that this was, I feel like sometimes when people want to get rid of plants, they're so scared to get rid of plants because they're theirs and they invested money in them and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes the best thing you could do is donate it to someone who really wants it, and let them take on and give it a happy life.
That's very true. And this, Lauren's friend might not have seen a ton of value in this bird of paradise. Maybe they were annoyed by it.
Yeah.
It's one man's trash is another man's
treasure. Exactly.
Yeah. Totally. I love that.
That's so beautiful. This is from Lotte. Me and my boyfriend needed to move out of our apartment in a short period of time. It was a bit of an escape. We had lived there for about 5 years and got a new landlord the year before. The new landlord was pestering us to get us to move out. He succeeded. We tried our hardest to find a place to move, and when we found one, we could move in 2 weeks. We wanted to leave the old place ASAP, so we now had 2 weeks to move and clean. Both of us were working, and I didn't have a driver's license, so this was going to be a challenge. When we planned our moving day, I was worried about my plants getting crushed in between the heavy boxes and furniture, but I didn't have the brain space to figure out a solution for that. Then, a friend who had some days off during the week offered to drive a couple of times up and down for us. The new landlord agreed to let us move stuff in early, then our new contract started. So my friend drove up and down multiple times and moved my plants and also quite a couple of boxes. Absolute hero. On moving day, we got all of our stuff out of the old apartment and into a small truck, and I didn't have plants to worry about in there. The friend is not a planty friend, by the way, but she did single-handedly ensure the safety of all my plants. I'm so grateful.
Wow.
That is a like grade A friend.
That's
because
a very
I feel
good
like
friend.
friends, like asking your friend to help you move is so intense. But the fact that this plant friend was like, no, I'll do multiple trips for you and save all your houseplants. That's incredible.
Yeah. Friends that will help you move, that's like another level of friendship where it's like
100%.
I'm going to pay you in pizza and you're going to move my stuff.
And you're going to move my stuff.
It's just
and I
not
love you
fun
for it.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if Lottie is in New York or a city because, like, driver's license. When did you get your driver's license?
I got my driver's license at 16 because I grew up in the suburbs of New York City. So I needed it. But a lot of New Yorkers don't have their driver's license.
I mean, it makes sense. But, like, growing up in the suburbs in, like, Arizona, it's like the moment I turned 15 and a half,
right.
I was, like, taking the test. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's an incredible friend, Lottie, and we're so happy your plants made the move. I think Becca and I both have content on our channels about how to move with houseplants because it is like the most stressful thing you could ever do. And we've both moved a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it is. And those tall moving boxes, like the wardrobe boxes, is my hack. When I move next, I'm going to get those and I'm just going to box all of the plants and have them completely covered because I used to think like, oh, they need air to breathe to be no,
they're fine. They're gonna
box
be fine.
them, close it up.
I try and we put all the taller ones in the tall boxes, and then I fill my car with all the plants. So I try and keep the plants out of the moving truck if possible, and I've moved 3 times in the last 3 years, and if I can, I'll move my plants on a separate day. That is the most ideal way to do it. But if you can't, I feel like I try and put my plants in the cars and then put everything else in the moving van, if that's possible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. When I moved, I just got like a little moving truck and it was okay, but there's definitely some losses just due to things jostling and like damage on the leaves. But the plants ultimately made it. You have to just anticipate
you're going to lose some plants when you move. And also plants aren't going to make the transition. Like some plants are not going to be happy in your new home. You know what I mean? You're going to have to figure out the light in your new home. Like I do feel like you need to set expectations if you move with your plants for sure.
Yeah. Set them very low.
Set them low and be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Next up, we're hearing from Scott Grows an Avocado Tree. If you don't follow him, he makes wonderful content across several different channels. He also has another channel called That's Pretty Cool, which is very fun. Okay, so he says, so I was doing a live stream back in 2020, right as COVID was hitting. I had a very small audience. I was talking about how I'd love a Thai constellation, and one of my audience members had just propagated hers. We got chatting on Instagram, and shortly thereafter, she gifted me a rooted cutting. I was so shocked. The plant has since flourished and is my favorite. I'm looking forward to taking some cuttings and paying it forward to some friends soon.
Back then, really too, a Thai constellation in 2020, that was a valuable plant cutting that she gave him. Like she could have made money selling that thing.
Seriously.
Wow. But also, I also feel the plants that have been gifted cuttings to me are so much more valuable to me than the expensive plants that I've bought, or that I've been gifted, from like just a plant company or some, you know what I mean? Like it's the little monstera that I got at my first plant swap I went to that's grown into a huge one. That's probably worth $20 if I was to resell it. Yeah. That's worth so much more to me than my Thai constellation, because I just kind of got the constellation in a normal way.
Yep.
That's so sweet.
Yep.
Okay, this one's from Bree. Honestly, there are so many stories I could share. Plant people are incredible and so kind. Agreed. 2 stories that stand out are first from Sue, plants_bolognese, saw that I was making pasta by hand on my stories and mailed me a KitchenAid roller attachment. Such a huge gesture, honestly. Plants bolognese, Sue. She's Italian.
That's nice.
Italian girls are nice girls too. If I do say so myself. The other time is when our sweet dog passed away. So many kind people not only reached out with kindness, but sent me such kind gifts, including Adam and Lydia from the Green Plant, Arizona, the Green Plant AZ, sending me some Hoyas. I sat and sobbed when I opened the box with their sweet card, just feeling loved in a time of such heavy grief by people who care so much and have never met me in real life. I'm honestly truly honored to be part of this community.
That's
Insane.
so special.
So sweet.
And especially on like never met you in real life part because most of my plant friends I have not met in real life. I've met you I guess twice in real life. That's so wild that you could have such deep connections with people that you have maybe met one time, if that.
Yes, it is so wild. It's kind of unbelievable. It's very believable, but like if you explain it, it's so weird. Like when I went to that New York Botanical Garden thing, Agatha and I slept at our friend Camille from Plant Blurred, the account. We had a sleepover the night before we went to New York Botanical Garden. And I was telling my husband, like, I'm going to go have a sleepover party with my plant friends. And he was like, who are these people? Like, you're going to a stranger's house and you're sleeping in their bed? Like, that's so weird. And I'm like, no, I think it's great. No, this is fun. It's fun. And it was like one of the first times I'd met Camille in real life. So, there's just a certain intimacy, I think, and trust with plant friends. Yeah. Obviously, too, I feel like you and I should have a little bit of a disclosure when you are making plant friends, when it is the first time you make that plant friend, like do it in a safe way. Meet in a public place, meet at a plant shop, meet at a coffee shop. Like don't go over to someone's house that's like a total stranger. At that point, I've known these women for 7 years and like I vetted that. Like I know that they're not, go about making your plant friends safely. Don't do anything dangerous, even though we do very much encourage plant friendships. Don't do anything too dangerous.
Yeah, don't give your address out to just anybody online. That was a hard lesson for me. Nothing bad happened, but I did give my address to an unsafe person and I ended up being fine, but
Get that P.O. box if you're going to start doing a lot of online, gifting and stuff like that.
Yes, get a P.O. box. It's worth the like $50 every 6 months. I don't know how much it costs. I don't even.
Yeah. I think $50 is a stretch. I feel like it's less than that. Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Okay, this next one is from Olivia, and it says, one time 2 plants, large, might I add, showed up at my front doorstep, and I still have no idea who they came from. It was a philodendron biliaceae and a monstera peru. I love both of these mystery plants so much.
Olivia has a secreted planty admirer.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Because these are nice. This isn't just like a random snake plant. Philodendron biliaceae and a monstera peru, like those are nice plants. Those are coming from someone who knows plants.
And like knew that you wanted them or liked them. Like,
wow. I love
secret admirer.
I love that you still don't know who these plants are from. That would give me like butterflies every time I saw them.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Secret plant admirer. Okay, this one is from Sarah. She says, my dear friend took in all of my plants when I needed to move into a studio temporarily. With 2 cats, you can imagine why I didn't want my collection with me. He did fabulous taking care of them during a time in which I couldn't. Thanks, Jacob. That's a good friend.
Oh,
took all of her plants. Friend. That's a really nice friend.
Shout out to Jacob. That's really nice. Okay, we've got Alicia. My instinct was to say how my husband never gave up on me finding my plant skills. Oh, that's really sweet. He bought me plants no matter how many died. Mm-hmm. Now I have over 300 plants and he doesn't say a word when more plants arrive.
Wow.
However, see, hold on to him.
Hold on to him. He doesn't say anything when you get more plants? Okay. This guy sounds like an incredible person.
Yeah. See, Daniel doesn't even notice when I bring in new plants, though. Like,
yeah.
Billy doesn't even notice.
I think that I'm so sneaky. Sneaking my plant in, and he'll be like a day or 2 later, he'll be like, "What's that? Is that when did that plant arrive, Maria?" And I'm like, "It's been here forever."
It's a propagation.
Yeah. It doesn't count.
However, thinking of the nicest thing a plant friend has done for me, I think of my friend Willow. She has encouraged me with my idea of a plant care business and has become my first client taking care of her plants on a weekly basis. Aww. She is also offering to help me promote myself and giving me ideas. I just love her so much and appreciate her friendship. That's
Shout
really
out
sweet.
Willow. Yeah.
Yeah, Willow.
I love that she not only encouraged Alicia to start her business, but then was the first person to support her. That's really cool. That's a good friend.
Yeah. That is a very good friend. And the ideas. Like, honestly, it's so nice to have a friend who you can bounce ideas off of. Mm-hmm. And just, especially in like the business realm, because would this work? What do you think? Would you buy this?
Yeah.
Like, that's
totally
helpful.
She's reminding me I promised to go water my friend's plants today, and I need to go do that after we wrap this interview. This is from another girl named Maria. Okay, the nicest thing a plant friend has done for me. My mother-in-law drove from Pennsylvania to Illinois and back again to help me move my close to 100 plant collection. We ordered a shipping crate for the move, but I was nervous about how long that would take to get back to us. She has a houseplant collection as well and offered to do the drive to ensure they didn't die. Another planty friend sent me a Hoya, Rebecca, as a get well gift when I was sick with COVID for a month, which caused my appendix to rupture. Oof, ouch.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy how I've never met the majority of my plant friends in person, but they've sent me wishlist cuttings and or we check in on each other from time to time just as much as my IRL friends. There's a theme in all of these. This is very sweet. It's so nice too to be like, I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not crazy for trusting my friend. You know, it's like these are really universal experiences. And I feel like they're so intimate and special that you almost think that you're the only person to have them. But this is so sweet to hear all of these people write in these stories.
Okay, this next one. I was in college during the pandemic, and when classes returned to in person, I moved back to college. After isolating and social distancing for a year and a half, my social anxiety was horrible. I have wondered about that, like for high school and college students, like that must have been just the craziest.
They got the worst deal.
Yeah, totally. I still had a few online classes, so I would only leave my apartment once a week. The 2 in-person classes I had were on the same day. No social outings. I wouldn't even grocery shop until all I had left was spaghetti or peanut butter and jelly. One weekend, a friend of mine from high school, who was also a planty person, was on campus visiting her partner. She didn't know my situation at all, but she reached out saying, "Hey, are you going anywhere today?" Of course, I said no. I was preparing to invite her over, but instead she said, "I'll be over in an hour. We're going to insert local plant nursery and nature center." Not only was she thoughtful enough to make time for the 2 of us to hang out when that wasn't part of her original plan, but it was exactly what I needed. I really needed that push to get outside. What is a better way than being surrounded by nature? It was so low-key, relaxing, and uplifting.
I just want to say, like, this experience, like, you're so not alone. I feel like I was talking about this with some girlfriends this weekend, how the social muscle is so fatigued post-COVID. Like, it is so much harder to socialize now than it was before COVID. And I also find that after I socialize in big groups of people, I need so much time to recover. Like, I need alone time, hardcore alone time after, when I used to not need that. And you're so not alone. And thank you very much for sharing this story with us. And I just love that sweet friend who was like, "I got you." Like, you know, like that gentle nudge that she needed. I think that's so sweet.
Yeah, like the friend who's just going to show up and be like, "We're going to go do this.
Yeah.
Let's go." Because when you're in that state of mind, I can imagine like it's just hard to even like make the decision to go out and do something, to make the plan, to like find the gumption, and just everything involved with getting out of the house is just hard.
Yeah.
In those situations, and just having someone to do it for you is really nice. So
totally.
That's a really, really good friend.
All right. Last but not least, this is from Jody. I thought this was a question about what's the nicest thing a literal plant friend has done for you. So that's how it's going to get answered. My rabbit foot fern has stayed alive and thrived for about 30 years. Oh, it's literal plant. Okay. My rabbit foot fern has stayed alive and thrived for about 30 years. It's on a side table in our dining room, and the deep green is so perfect. I love that.
Oh.
So her literal plant has been so nice to her by staying alive for 30 years. I freaking love that. I also I got my first rabbit foot fern. I'm into ferns now. I've never been into ferns before because they're so hard, but I found, you know, I'm into it. I have not killed my rabbit foot fern yet, and I'm very excited about it.
I have been thinking about the rabbit foot fern and like trying to grow it on. Have you seen those like terracotta tower planters?
Yes, the Tiva planter?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I want one, and I want a rabbit foot fern for it so that I can watch the root the fuzzy roots like crawl all over that.
I have one of those actually. Bought one during their Kickstarter, and I haven't set it up. Maybe I will be inspired. But can I show you? Okay, so wait. This is my favorite fern that I think is really hard to kill. Like it's hardier than others. It's a bird's nest. It's called hurricane because of the crazy leaves. But I feel like the leaves are thicker, so it's harder to dry out. And also the way the plant is, the leaves kind of hold the moisture in the soil, so it makes it easier to not dry out.
30 years with a fern is honestly impressive. Like, more than impressive. I think you should teach a course on
ferns. 30 years with any plant. I'm like, dang, that's so impressive.
I know. We did on Potted Together, we did an episode. It came out yesterday about like plants through the ages. And somebody said that they had a plant for like 50 years or something like that. And I was like, I was like so shook by the thought of that. Trees live for that long or more. Yeah. So like obviously a houseplant, if you keep it alive, like potentially you could keep it alive way longer than its actual normal shelf life because we can manipulate the environment. So that's just like really interesting to think about.
It's so cool.
Maria, thank you so much for hanging out with us today and coming on the show. This is not a podcast. Coming on the channel.
Video. Coming on the channel. Yes. Yeah. This was so fun. Yeah. This was so fun. And I hope people might come hop over to my videos too. If you love Becca's videos, you'll probably like my video channel as well. I have a podcast, but we're on YouTube now. If you want to come hang with me on the YouTube interwebs as well, you can come check me out.
Yep. I'll have it all linked down below. The YouTube channel, Instagram, podcast, website, everything Maria will be linked down below. Maria and Growing Joy. And your book. I'll link your book down below too.
Thank you.
Which is really good if you guys are wanting to be more mindful in your houseplant collecting and just thinking about how you can use your plants like as a part of your mindfulness journey. I think it's a really, really, really great resource for that. I've really enjoyed it when I read it. So.
Oh, thanks, friend. Yeah, that was my love letter to plants.
If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to my channel to get more planty content like this. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.